Greetings in the grace of God's Spirit, and on behalf of First Baptist Church of Pottstown, Pennsylvania. We've been an AWAB church for just over a year now. My name is Marcia Bailey. I'm the pastor at First Baptist, and I've been a part of AWAB's activities for many years now, going back to the voice of the turtle, the inspirator, and all those important things. I want to give thanks to Brian for inviting me to speak with you today, to tell you a little bit about First Baptist, and to let you know what we're doing in this time of global and national dis-ease. I have been a part of the life of First Baptist, I guess, for nearly 15 years. I came there as a worshiper when the Reverend Marvin Marsh, who is also a friend and colleague of AWAB, was the pastor there. I came to worship after I had left the pastoral partnership at Central Baptist Church in Wayne, also an AWAB church. So I worshiped with First Baptist for about a year and got to know many of its people. Later, I came back to First Baptist in 2015 when Marvin retired after 19 years of wonderful, compassionate, healing pastoral work among this congregation. They adored him. And so I helped them during the transitional process move on from their grief and loss and to look for a brand new day. They did that. They called a new pastor, and unfortunately that relationship only lasted about 18 months, and they called me again and asked me if I would come help them, and I did. So that was in the fall of 2019, and maybe it was 2018, and then 2019, we became an AWAB congregation, and in the fall of 2019, they asked me if I would become their permanent part-time pastor. So although we had known each other for a long time, it occurred to me there were things they didn't know about me that were really important and that I wanted them to know. So on the day they were to vote, I stood before them and read 3 entire typed pages of things I wanted them to know about me, everything from things that I like to eat and not like to eat, to things I really felt passionate about, so that they could feel like they were fully informed before they voted. And one of the things I said to them was that inclusion was non-negotiable for me, that everyone was a part of God's reign and part of God's glorious creation, and that we needed to honor and respect all. Another thing I told them was that I was not interested in doing church like we used to do it in the 60s or 70s or 80s or 90s or even the 2000s. And that I wasn't interested in being their chaplain if they decided, because there were only 30 members, they were going to be a dying church. But instead, I told them what I was interested in doing, and that was I was interested in being part of a community that cared for the world around them, that was deeply invested in their own community, and that was interested in discovering God's transformative call to a new way of being church in the world. Little did we know from that day till now that we would be pushed to live into this ideal even more completely and certainly sooner than we thought. I'm proud to say that FBC is deeply committed to the inclusion of all people. We make that clear at the beginning of every worship service. We understand that all people are the embodiment of God's self, and with that understanding, that is our task and call and joy to seek justice to ourselves, to one another in our communion, in our community, and in the world. As I said, FBC is small in number, but it is strong in spirit and in passion and in purpose. And so we had already identified before the pandemic the need to push ourselves beyond our walls and into our community. And so when in March our doors were closed, we intentionally decided that this season, however wild and disruptive it was going to be, would be a season in which we would intentionally seek God's direction and hear God's call anew to embody a relationship with our community. We had already just started musing about the need for a large, old, expensive, inaccessible building when suddenly the pandemic revealed that we didn't need a building at all in order to be the church. We've been worshiping live on Zoom every week since the middle of March, seeing more folks virtually than we ever saw in the pews. People who were kept away by ability, by distance, by issues of personal comfort are finding themselves a part of our worshiping community online. Sometimes we have friends even as far away as from Australia. Our building is in full use now, but not by us. With our local school district being closed, the YWCA has expanded their shared space with us to expand outreach to children and families by offering supportive learning communities during the day in our education building. A Latinx community group who has been part of our building space for over 20 years has expanded its offerings to include young preschool children and to help moms with their ability to speak English. And the Narcotics Anonymous groups that meet multiple times each week in our building are finding it again a safe space where they can be present to one another. When the pandemic scrapped our original plans for what we would do in our community this summer, we instead followed the lead of one of our members who heard a call for us to open 2 little free libraries on our property. And so we have a children's library with books and packets with complete supplies to do crafts, and we have an adult library. It has brought much joy and energy and interest in our neighborhood, and we've gotten to know a lot of people as we gather and distribute books. We regularly make masks for the members of our community and give them away outside of our church. We don't charge anything. We just ask that people take care of themselves and they take care of their neighbors. We've probably given out more than 800 masks. We began an anti-racism working group this summer after the murder of George Floyd. We participated in Pottstown's Black Lives Matter March. We have been offering voter registration opportunities around our city in the last several weeks as we move toward this important election season. We've read and talked about our own racism, and we're building partnerships with others in our community who want to honestly seek new understanding about the problem of systemic racism in our society. Over the summer, we had 2 technology and communication interns work with us to help us maximize our online skills and to deepen and prioritize our online engagement. Without the confines of a building, we're wondering if God is inviting us to create a virtual community, a community without walls that can include everyone, everywhere. And so we're continuing our online worship, even though legally in Pennsylvania, we could go back to our worship space. We'll just see how that goes. We're in the planning stages, which we could gather literally from anywhere to talk about life and faith. Perhaps you can be a part of that with us. And this fall, we're worshiping around the themes of the pursuit of justice, offering 2 online learning communities, one theologically based, the other biblically based, as we seek to live fully into what Marcus Borg calls the politics of compassion. We're proud to be a part of AWAB. It's been a gift to share Zoom sessions with other AWAB board members and clergy persons in this season as we celebrate and share and commiserate together. I believe we're living in a seminal time in the life of our world and of our nation and of our churches. As followers of Jesus, we need to have something to say in this season, but not only speak, but act. We need to be present to and among those whose voices need to be amplified in the fight for justice. We're daring to see this season at First Baptist as an opportunity from God to do new things in our world, in our nation, in our community, our neighborhood, and in ourselves. being welcoming and affirming is a great place to start. Let me close by having members of our congregation introduce FBC to you for themselves.
Family by choice. I didn't find First Baptist. First Baptist found me.
An open church, it's a welcoming church, and it's affirming church to all people. It doesn't matter.
It's the warmth, their welcomingness, the love. You know, you feel like there are people who are reaching out, you know.
They really do believe wherever you are, you're welcome there.
As a member of the LGBT community, FBC has always felt like someplace I could come home to, regardless of what else was going on in my life.
My father was a pastor, and I had heard a lot of sermons in my life. And so I was always looking for a place where I would hear something I had not heard a million times.
The style of worship we like very much, and the music is excellent.
I really enjoy people at First Baptist Church.
We want to be allies of people in the community that want to work for justice.
We welcome everyone whom God has made and all who seek to know God. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you, and thank you for being our community.